Hi, come along with me as I turn this tired old room into my son's brand new bedroom. So this room was staged as the dining room when we moved in here in 2011. We got pregnant with our son Liam 1 month after moving, and we decided to make this room his nursery. This was my very first renovation project, and I made a lot of mistakes, but I also learned a lot. One thing that I was super proud of was this horizontal accent wall. I thought it was just so fun. And here's what the room looked like when it was finished. And here's my precious son at 1 year old. As time went on, he was followed by 3 sisters, and this became the girls' room. He took over our old master bedroom for most of his childhood. He had a teepee in his room and so many fun things in there. But now that my youngest was out of the nursery, we decided we wanted the girls all to be together, so we moved him back into his old nursery since it was a lot bigger. But this time I wanted to give him a much more sophisticated look. I took apart and sold the girls' old bunk bed, and it helped pay for some of the furniture for his room. After surviving 3 toddlers in this room, the walls were suffering. There was a lot of patchwork that needed to happen. The outlets were pretty old and they were cream, so I decided to take off the covers. I'll update them later as well, that way they'll all match. Next I cleaned and scraped all the stickers and tape off the walls. Then I used my favorite, spackling by DAP, to smooth out all the imperfections. My oldest daughter helped me clean the floors, and then I gave him a good steam cleaning to get everything ready for paint. Since renovating this room 14 years ago, I painted all the rest of the trim in the house a creamy white color, so I was happy to finally get the trim in this room to match the rest of the house. And covering up all this permanent artwork made me so happy. A trick I learned while painting is using an artist brush. I'm a perfectionist, and I feel like when you get paint all over the hinges, it just looks so unprofessional. This really helps me get into the small spaces and around the edges of the trim so nicely. I put my samples on all 4 walls to see how the light hit and picked a nice grayish color that I had custom mixed. My dad challenged me once that if you take your time, you don't need to use painter's tape. Ever since then, I've learned that if you paint the trim first, then the walls, you can easily paint along the edges if you turn your brush sideways. You get a much nicer finish than when you use tape as well. It always amazes me what fresh paint alone can do for a room, especially if you take the time to do it right. Next, I wanted to add an accent wall to anchor the room. I learned that when you have an old house and use dark colors, it accentuates imperfections if you use a satin finish. So I used a flat finish, which is usually reserved for ceilings. I know it won't be as washable, but I also know my son's old enough that it shouldn't be a problem. I freehanded the corners, but for the top, I was afraid I was gonna get it on the trim, so I did tape that one piece. And since I was adding boards to each corner, I didn't have to worry about making the paint lines too straight. It's always so much fun when you paint with a contrasting color. It makes such a big difference. When I buy paint, I always buy paint primer mixes. That way they cover really well and I only need 2 coats. While that dried, I decided to replace the old light in their room for a more modern light fixture. It's funny because I've already replaced this exact same fixture twice. So looking at my previous work, I felt like I did a solid job. I hate working above my head. It just drains all the blood away from your arms. I touched up the ceiling where it was exposed, so now it'll all blend in. I wanted to talk about light bulbs quick. A couple years ago, we changed all the light bulbs in the house to 4,000 Kelvin. It's not quite as blue as the 5,000 or as yellow as the 2,700. I think it's the perfect interior light color, and it makes everything bright and neutral. Next, I wanted to swap out all the outlets from cream to white, and I thought this could be a really cool learning opportunity for my son, so I had him help me. I let him try to do it before I finished up. I think it's important to slow down and pass along valuable life skills to our kids. It makes life so much easier for them when they have places of their own one day. Next, I wanted to finish the accent wall by adding some boards. I bought these 2x1s from Lowe's. Here's a pro tip I learned from my carpenter dad, that when you're buying lumber, look at the end to see how straight the piece is. I had to go through so many pieces to find the one I needed. Then I sanded the fronts and the sides of each board, and then I slightly rounded each edge too, just to make sure there was no splinters and it was nice and soft. Oh, I miss seeing green. It's mid-February right now, and we have so much snow in Ohio this year. I'm so ready to get back outside again. This was a super effective way to get all the boards dust-free, that way I could prep them for paint. And I went ahead and painted them outside just to make it a lot easier. I just painted the front and sides of each board. Since the baseboard didn't stick out, I was trying to figure out a way to get the boards to be able to rest on something, and so I found this trim piece, and I thought this just might work out really good. So typically I would have just added everything with a little glue and brad nails, but actually these walls are concrete, and so I had to use liquid nails for everything so they'll stick on. Being that all the exterior walls are concrete and plaster, it just makes it so hard to work around them and to hang things. It's always a challenge. Later I found that even the liquid nails was having a hard time holding everything down, so then I used construction adhesive and that worked out really good. Next I did the math and figured out what kind of spacing I wanted between each board, and then being that the walls are uneven, I had to take individual measurements for each piece. So in order to hold the boards up while they dried, I used construction adhesive and then just a little bit of construction glue. That way they can stick on there while the glue dries. Since I had to quickly get each board up on the wall after I used the hot glue, I went ahead and pre-marked where it went with painter's tape. That way it was nice and easy. And then I just held it down for a minute or two, and then that was it. It was really simple. Funny story, so all that footage was filmed 2 years ago, and this room is held up great. We decided to get a new rug, so we pulled everything out. As you can see, we put in shelves and hung a flag and a mirror. Liam's gonna be 13 years old next month, and now he's almost as tall as me. I found this huge washable rug on Amazon and I absolutely love the pattern. I think it's so masculine. It's also super soft. If you've enjoyed this video or found any of these ideas helpful, please give it a like. It really helps others discover my channel. And if you're new here, I'd love it for you to subscribe so you can be part of my YouTube family. Your support means so much to me. Thank you. Now it's time to put his room back together. I love how he is just as strong as me now. I found this antique mid-century modern dresser and it works perfectly in here. We got him a full-size bed with an upholstered headboard. I love the horizontal lines of the bed frame next to the vertical boards on the wall. I think it looks really nice. Next, I found this desk on Facebook Marketplace. I love the way it looks underneath the shelves here. I feel like it doesn't take up too much space visually because of the hairpin legs. I also thrifted this huge lamp that we're going to use as his reading lamp, and then this one that we have for his dresser. And I found these old 1930 engineer books at a garage sale. It was perfect because my son has aspirations of being an engineer, so I was so excited to find them for him. Liam is obsessed with chess, so of course we had to add that. He also plays guitar and percussion and band. He loves reading and drawing, soccer and video games. He has so many hobbies and he does so well at school. We're super proud of him, and I was just so happy to reward him with such a nice room to call his own. These shelves are collections of all of Liam's personal items. They aren't perfectly decorated, but they're special to him, and most of the things are things that he's created. Every year we take a new mom and dad photo with each of the kids, so they have a photo with each of us. This desk chair was a new addition. If there's anything I can link, I'll put it in the description below. So much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you might like some of my other videos, so feel free to click on it and I'll see you over there.